This is from Sharon in the United States. I think the hardest part is realizing the person I trusted with everything, the roof over our heads, the stability of our family, was the one who nearly destroyed it. I'm not talking about a small mistake. I'm talking about a secret so big, it could have left my kids and me without a home. Before that day, I thought my life was solid. I worked as a therapist. I came home tired, but proud, knowing I was helping people every day. My kids filled the house with noise and laughter, and I felt like I was doing okay. I thought I had a partner who carried the other half of the weight. Money wasn't my responsibility, or at least that's what I believed. He said he would handle it, and I let him. Bills, mortgage, taxes, it was all on his side. I told myself that was teamwork. That's what marriage meant. I didn't realize how much blind trust I had given away until it was already too late. Then the phone rang. It was the bank. The man on the line sounded calm, like he was giving me directions or reading from a checklist. He told me my mortgage hadn't been paid in 14 months. 14 months. I felt frozen, like my brain couldn't even process the number. 14. At first, I laughed, because what else do you do when someone tells you something that sounds impossible? I said, "You must be mistaken." But the man repeated it, slowly, clearly, and the longer he spoke, the more it sank in. This wasn't a mistake. It was my reality, and it was happening right under my nose. I hung up the phone, and I couldn't feel my hands. They were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped it. I could hear my kids upstairs arguing over a toy, like nothing was wrong. I wanted to keep it that way. I wanted to shield them. But how do you protect your children when the floor is crumbling beneath all of you? I tried to tell myself there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe he forgot, maybe the payments got mixed up, maybe it was some kind of system error. I clung to those maybes because the alternative was unbearable. But deep down, I already knew the truth. This wasn't a simple oversight. This was deliberate silence. When I confronted him, I saw the guilt before he said a word. His face looked like a kid caught stealing, but he still tried to cover it with excuses. He muttered about bad business deals, about stress, about being too overwhelmed. None of it mattered. None of it answered the real question. How could he hide this from me for 14 months? The anger came fast and hard, but the shame followed just as quickly. How did I, of all people, not see it? I sit in a chair every day telling clients to face reality, to pay attention to warning signs in their relationships. And yet, in my own home, I ignored everything. I wanted so badly to believe in him that I blinded myself. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my body tense like I was waiting for an earthquake to hit. In my mind, I saw foreclosure notices pinned to the door. I imagined courtrooms, lawyers, and my kids packing up their belongings in cardboard boxes. Rage and fear fought each other inside me until it felt like I was being crushed. The next morning, I tried to go about my routine like nothing had happened. I packed lunches, drove the kids to school, and even smiled at other parents. But inside, I was falling apart. Every casual hello felt fake, like I was living a double life. Nobody knew that I might lose everything. When I got home, I opened the bills. Piles of envelopes had been stacked away, hidden in drawers, shoved into boxes. My hands shook as I ripped them open. Overdue, final notice, demand for payment. And here's the part that cut deeper. He had a job. He had business ventures. But behind the curtain, those ventures had been falling apart for months. The betrayal wasn't just about debt. It was about pretending. He looked me in the eye every day as if he had it under control. In reality, he was failing and hiding it. If he had told me about the business problems, I could have handled that. But he chose silence. He let me believe we were safe when we were already sinking. I wanted to scream at him, to throw the papers in his face. But instead, I just sat at the table and stared at them. The numbers blurred because of my tears. I kept thinking, how am I supposed to fix something this massive when I didn't even know it existed yesterday? At work, I pretended everything was fine. My clients came in with their problems, and I nodded, listened, gave advice. But inside, I felt like a fraud. Here I was, guiding others through honesty and trust, while my own life was a wreck. The shame made me feel smaller every hour. Nights were the worst. I'd hear the kids breathing in their sleep, and I'd picture them being forced to leave their rooms, their toys, their safe place. I'd never felt anger like that before. Anger at him, anger at myself, anger at how fragile everything really was. When I asked him again why he kept this from me, he shrugged like it wasn't that big of a deal. He said, "I didn't want to worry you." Those words set me on fire. He didn't protect me. He stripped me of the chance to fight alongside him. I kept replaying every conversation we'd had over the past year. How many times did he look me in the eye and let me believe we were okay? How many nights did I sit across from him at dinner, laughing at some joke, while he knew we were sinking? Here's a fact for you. Studies show that nearly 1 in 3 couples experience some form of financial infidelity. Hidden accounts, secret debts, unpaid bills, and just like emotional betrayal, the damage isn't just about money. It's about the broken trust that lingers long after. They say people often hide money problems out of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of losing respect, or even fear of admitting failure. Sometimes it's not about greed, but shame. That doesn't excuse the damage, but it explains why silence can feel easier than honesty. Anyway, the notices escalated quickly. Court summons, legal threats, and phone calls demanding payment. Every envelope I opened felt like another bomb going off in my hands. I couldn't breathe knowing my kids might wake up one morning to find strangers at the door, ready to take everything away. I begged him to sit down with me and face it together. Instead, he shut down, staring at the floor, muttering half answers about things not working out. It hit me then. This wasn't just bills slipping through. These were his failed business ventures, hidden like dirty laundry. And now, instead of fighting for us, he acted like it was already too late. I started meeting with lawyers and financial advisors on my own. Sitting in those offices was humiliating. I had to admit out loud that my husband had been running things into the ground while pretending everything was fine. It wasn't just the debt, it was the performance, the lie that he was managing it. The anger at him became constant. Every time I looked at his face, I saw the man who let deal after deal collapse, then buried the evidence under stacks of unopened mail. But the shame I carried was mine. I was the one lying awake at night, imagining my kids crying as we packed boxes because of choices I didn't even know were being made. One evening, after the kids went to bed, I told him straight, I couldn't do this anymore. Not just the debt, but the lies, the silence, the way he left me to clean it all up. He didn't argue. He didn't apologize. He just sat there. That emptiness was the worst answer of all. From that night on, I knew I was on my own. I took over the bills. I faced the banks. I mapped out every painful detail of what needed to be paid and when. It was overwhelming, but at least it was real. At least it was mine now. The first payment I sent felt both humiliating and empowering. I was cleaning up a disaster I didn't cause, but I was finally in control. No more silence, no more pretending. Every dollar was a reminder that I was fighting for my children, not for him. Still, the scars linger. Even now, I look at envelopes in the mail with dread. I check the locks on the door more often, not because of intruders, but because I know how fragile security really is. You think you're safe, until suddenly you're not. I don't know if I'll ever trust again, not the way I once did. The betrayal wasn't just about money. It was about knowing the person beside me could watch me smile, watch our kids play, and never tell me the truth that was burning everything down. I'm rebuilding slowly, but the question never leaves me. Was I naive to trust so blindly? Or is trust always a gamble? What would you have done if you discovered the person you loved had put your children's home at risk? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to hear more stories like this, please consider subscribing.